How's it, guys? Linton here from Greenbox Markets. Just watching the Euro-Yen currency pair at the moment. I thought it would be quite a nice pair to do a little video on. There's three important structures here that we can see that have taken place, which are really good for us to practice with and get some direction and see where this thing is going. So on the weekly chart, I can see over here that we've had this impulse on the left-hand side, or this trend, and this being the retracement or correction, and we've actually broken out of that. So let's take a look a little bit more in depth in terms of what that breakout means and how we would have got into that trade. Sorry, I'm just pulling up my pen here for you guys. So here we've had the impulse, okay, this being the correction, and what that means is we're expecting the price to break and move to the upside on this big particular structure here on the weekly time frame. I'm just going to clear that for you so we can count the waves inside. 1, 2, 3, and it broke. So that's quite typical, three-wave structure and a break on the fourth. Then we've got the smaller structure which formed outside of the bigger structure on the weekly time frame. And as you'll know, these are what we look for in terms of the trades that I enter. So I wait for a structure to form, then another structure to form on a smaller time frame and a break of that, which gives me my entry on the long. So this being the weekly where it broke out here, and then this being a daily structure, which we can quite clearly see. Just move that to that side. So here on the daily structure, which formed outside of the weekly, we can also see a wave pattern where we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it broke. So again, quite textbook stuff, 5 waves and a break. That indicating to me that this weekly break is held and that we should see further upside. So we've seen a break on the weekly and a break on the daily. Then we need to go down to the 1 hour time frame and get our trade over there as an entry for our long. Go down to the 1 hour. And there we can see, actually let's go to the 4 hours, you can see the structure a bit more clearly. Here we can see this structure which formed 2, 3 waves. Didn't quite tag the top on the fourth, so it's really just a 3-wave structure correction, and it did break to the downside. However, because of the bigger structures that have taken place and the fact that we're expecting the price to move upwards, I'm not too interested in a sell here at this point. And I'm going to explain to you now why that is. So if I move down to the 1 hour time frame, and here we can see that on the 1 hour it did break that structure to the downside, but my risk to reward isn't great. Yes, on the 1 hour that's a decent trade, and you could get a couple of pips out of that. Let's just check how many that would be. So there's about 150 pips in that if you did trade it correctly, but there's no rule stating that if this flag should break, let's just check here, if this flag should break on this level over here, if that should break, there's nothing that's set in concrete that states that the price has to reach the bottom here before it turns. So a risky trade to the downside, it is possible, and you could take it if you move your stop to sort of entry quite quickly and hold that trade down to the previous structure support. You could take that trade, but invariably what I'm waiting for is to see a clear change in price direction to the upside. So if the price were to break out of here and bounce off the bottom, I would then wait for the formation of a flag before I enter. So for the price to do that, then to bounce around a couple of times and then break. That there would be my entry for this long. If the price, however, doesn't break this flag and it continues up, and then it does something like this, and it breaks, that will be my entry for the long. That flag break over there, that'll be my entry for the long. Where will I trade this to? Let's go back to a bigger time frame. Let's have a look at the 4 hour. Initially we can see that my first target, if the price does move up and form that 1 hour flag, will be the top of this structure over here. And then I'll be waiting to see exactly the same thing take place over here at the top of this structure. So in other words, if it was to break out of this 4 hour structure over here to the upside, in other words, I get into the price over here, get into the trade over here, the price moves up, it rallies a little bit and it pulls back and rallies a little bit and then it breaks, I'm still going to stay in that trade. I'm not going to close the trade. So in other words, the price could go up from here, form a little flag, and break up to the top there. I don't want to close this trade, but what I will do is I'll move my stop to just below that point there, and then watch what price action does. If we get a break of the top and the price forms another flag and then goes, obviously I want to keep that trade. I don't want to close it. So I want to keep that trade for quite some time. If we go down to the daily time frame, let's go to the daily quickly. Sorry, there we go. On the daily we can see that a break of this top here could yield a really big trade to the upside to give us our targets according to this weekly picture that we saw. Remember in the beginning I showed you this impulse that took place, this being the correction and this being the break of that impulse at this point in time. So a break of this on the daily could well be the start of this move over here. And that impulse could go a long way. So if we're looking at the same kind of distance on the left here to the right, we could actually get a very, very big trade on the euro yen, something that could get pretty close to that previous high over there. Obviously, we're not going to just trade it and hold it. What we would do is move our stops progressively further and further up as we get more profits locked in on this trade. News events do happen and they do affect the charts, and there's nothing to say that we couldn't get to this kind of level and have a big pullback before the price continues. You don't want to hold it all the way through that pullback, so you want to move your stop further and further into profit. And if you do get taken out on the stop, look for a setup to get long again. So in a nutshell, I'm not too keen on the short trade that seems to have set up on the 1 hour time frame. And the reason for that is I don't think there's going to be great risk to reward on it. I would rather wait for a setup to complete to the upside and then enter that trade. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you found this video useful and enjoyed the strategies, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and also feel free to leave comments in the comments section below. Take care. Cheers.